Hi, welcome to lesson 11-6, multiplying mixed numbers. Our learning goal will be to multiply mixed numbers and apply previous understandings of multiplication to multiply a fraction or a whole number by a fraction. Our learning goals for the lesson are to solve real-world problems involving multiplication of mixed numbers. We will multiply a fraction or a whole number by a fraction, and we'll understand the principle of equivalency or how to simplify or reduce fractions. Please pause and write these in your journal. When you're ready, go ahead and push play. Our vocabulary for this lesson are mixed number. A mixed number includes both a whole number and a fraction, and also improper fraction, when the numerator is larger than the denominator. It means there's a hidden whole number in that fraction. So that means we have one whole number at least with a fraction. Please pause, write these down, and press play when you're ready to begin. I wanted to just review the steps of converting a mixed number to an improper fraction. If we took the fraction 3 1/2, what we would do is we multiply the denominator and the whole number. So I would multiply 2 times 3, which would give me 6. Then I am going to add 6 to the numerator, which is 1. So 6 plus 1 is 7. And then I place that result over the original denominator, which is 7 over 2. So 3 1/2 is equal to 7 halves. Just thought we probably better check that out. You don't have to write that in your notes unless you just want that reminder as we go through the steps of how to convert a mixed number to an improper fraction. So here's our first example. Another thing to think about before we start is a lot of times we can kind of estimate what we think our answer will be, so as we're working we know if we're kind of on track. So if I just look at the whole numbers right there, I have 2 and 3. 3 3/4 is very close to 4. So if I was going to estimate that, I would think maybe my answer is going to be somewhere around 8. So let's go ahead and take a look and work through this together. So whenever I'm working with a whole number, I have to put that in fraction form. So when I do that, it's going to look like the whole number 2 over 1. So anytime I'm working with a whole number, I have to put it in fraction form to be able to work with it. Now I'm going to follow those steps. I'm going to multiply 4 times 3, which is 12. And then I'm going to add 3 more, which is going to give me 15. And then I'm going to put my original denominator back under the 13. Now I can multiply 2 times 13. Oh, actually this should be 15. Sorry, made a little mistake there. 2 times 15, that's going to be 30. 1 times 4 is 4. Okay, so I have 30/40. This is an improper fraction. So this is when I'm going to need to change my improper fraction back into a mixed number. So how I do that is I put my numerator right here, my denominator goes here, and then I'm going to divide. 4 will go into 30 7 times. Let's go back and make that 7. I'm going to subtract, and now the 2 comes up here. That becomes my numerator, with my 4 that I got from right here is my denominator. So I also know that 7 2/4 is not in simplest form. I would have to reduce that fraction. I could do that by dividing both the numerator and denominator by 2, or I might just know that 2/4 equals 1/2. So my answer for this problem is going to be 7 and 1/2. And if I think back to what my estimate was probably somewhere around 8. So that let me kind of know as I worked that I was on track with my multiplying of this whole number and fraction. So we've done that example together. Now we're going to go through some practice problems using the same steps. For practice problem number 1, we have 4 1/2, and we're multiplying that times 1 1/4. So in order to do this, I'm going to have to change these mixed numbers into improper fractions. So be sure you do that. Pause, work these out. When you're ready to go over them with me, press play. All right, so we're going to follow those same steps. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 more is going to be 9. And I'm going to put that over 2 because that was my original denominator. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 more is 5. And that will go over 4. And I've just made, this is just an improper fraction that's equivalent to this mixed number. It has the same thing, that's why I have the equal sign right here. Now I'll multiply 9 times 5, 45, and 2 times 4 is 8. Now I've got to change this from an improper fraction to a mixed number. 45 goes here. Oops. 8 goes here. 8 will go into 45 5 times. 8 times 5 is 40. Subtract. This becomes my new numerator over a denominator of 8. So you should have gotten 5 and 5/8 as our answer. If you did, give yourself a pat on the back. Okay, let's go on to practice problem number 2. Practice problem number 2. So I'm working again with a whole number and a mixed number. Go ahead and work this out on your own, and when you're ready, press play and we'll go through it together. Okay, so whenever I have a whole number, I've got to change that into fraction form, so that's going to become 8 over 1. Now I'm going to convert this by 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 more is going to be 11 over 4, because that's my original denominator. Now I will multiply. 8 times 11 is 88, and 1 times 4 is 4. Okay, let's do our division to convert this back into a mixed number, except this time I think we're going to get a whole number answer. 4 times 8 is 2. And 4 times 2 is 8. So this time we got the whole number answer of 22. All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look. And if we look back at our estimating to kind of help us understand, you might say, oh, well, my estimate might have been off if you just looked at 8 times 2. You might have thought your answer should be somewhere around 16. But remember, 2 3/4 is very close to 3. So if I was going to estimate this before I worked it, I would have estimated it as 8 times 3, which would have been 24. And I would have known that was a little bit of an overestimate, so 22 would have made sense. Okay, for our practice problem next, we're going to be looking at a word problem. Leanne walks at an average speed of 3 1/3 miles per hour. How far does she walk in 2 1/4 hours? Simplify if needed. Work this on your own. Press play whenever you're ready to check your answer with me. Oops. We're not done yet. All right, so I'm going to multiply 3 1/3 times 2 1/4. I've got to convert these into improper fractions, so this is going to become 10. Oh, I should have made that a third, not a half, over 3. And this is going to be 9/4. Just made equivalent improper fractions here. Now whenever I go ahead and multiply this, this is going to be 90/12. Come over and do my division. 12 is going to go into 90 7 times. 7 times 8 is 84. And that's going to give us 6/12 left over. But I can't leave it that way because it's not in simplest form. I can divide both the 6 and 12 by 6 to reduce, or I already know that 6/12 is equal to 1/2. So my answer is going to be 7 1/2. And our label is going to be miles. Okay. If you got that, give yourself a pat on the back. Remember, it's always important to label those word problems. Okay, ready for a challenge. This is a 3-part challenge. Mr. Silver is measuring paper for the 5th grade projects. He needs to record the length, width, and area for each sheet of paper. Find the missing areas for each sheet of paper. So you'll notice you've already given the length and the width, here and here, And yesterday we talked about area in the lesson, so you'll need to have an answer for A, B, and C. So make sure that you show all your work, and we'll check those tomorrow in class. It's time to finish. Please review your learning goals. Do you have the learning goals written in your journal? Do you have all the practice problems and the word problem written in your journal with your work to show how you got your answer? Do you have the challenge problem written in your journal? And remember, you should have an answer for A, B, and C. You've now completed lesson 11-6. We'll see you tomorrow.